So the other day I went to print something and I was greeted with this message. Yep, out of magenta. Now, I wasn't even trying to print in color, I was just trying to print a black and white document. But unfortunately with printers these days, you need to have all the color cartridges even if you want to print in black and white. So I went ahead and pulled out the magenta cartridge, and to my surprise, it looked like there was still ink in there. You may be able to see that there is ink to about this level here. There was actually more, but some of it got on my hands and on this cloth. Anyway, there's plenty of ink in here, but according to the printer cartridge is out of ink. So what can we do about this? Well, I had a look online and found these things. These are a chip resetter. They're actually designed to sit over the ink cartridge and reset the little chip that's hidden under this PCB. These are pretty inexpensive. I think this one was about 20 bucks or so. And what you do is simply line it up with the cartridge. It'll only fit sort of one way, so it doesn't fit that way. But if we swap it around this way and just sort of press down, you'll see that our little light flashes red and it should turn green, and now this should be reset. But there is a slight caveat with this. Did we change magenta? Sure. So it tells us to reinstall the cartridge again because for some reason that didn't work. And it still says we're out of magenta. Now, one of the things you'll note on these is it says reset the chip before the ink level falls below 15%. So as this cartridge was already showing as empty, perhaps there's something in the chip itself when the cartridge gets to 0 that it just disables being reset. So I've got a new magenta cartridge, so be it. And with the new cartridge installed, it'll now print. I don't particularly want to print that thing right now. So while we weren't able to save the magenta, even though it's all over my hands, the other cartridge in here that's low is apparently the yellow. So let's try it with that because it actually hasn't run out yet. And as you can see, the yellow is all the way up to here, whereas it's showing being quite low on the display. So let's try and reset this one. All right, let's put the yellow back in and see what happens. Did we change yellow? Sure. And look at that. We have full yellow. So even though the magenta one didn't work because it already detected it as being empty, and then I guess you can't reset it after that, the yellow one worked just fine. So I now apparently have a full yellow cartridge, which isn't far off the truth. I mean, if we look at that, the ink level is up to about just below this label. I actually pulled the label off on the other one because it says do not remove this label. I'm not going to do it on this one, but yeah, you can see that there was still a decent amount of ink left in this as well. So this will probably get back down to 0 by the time the yellow actually does run out this time. So we've saved sort of a good half a cartridge of ink. And in theory, if I just wanted to print in black and white all the time, I could just keep resetting the color cartridges so it thinks they're always full, and I can print in black and white with no actual ink in those cartridges. Now, I've heard that certain printers can detect a third-party cartridge and they just won't let you print at all, but this Brother one seems to work just fine with third-party cartridges. I've also heard that these resetters don't work on all first-party cartridges, so if I had a genuine Brother toner in here, it may not be able to reset it, but it seems to work just fine on the third-party ones. So I'll leave a link in the description for this thing. This is obviously for this particular Brother printer and its supported cartridges, but I have seen ones for Samsung printers and Epson and all that kind of thing. So search around for your printer model and chip resetter, or your cartridge model and chip resetter. Usually they're plentiful on AliExpress. You may be able to find them on eBay and just Google for them as well. But yeah, I bought this one off AliExpress for about 20 bucks and seems to have done the job just fine. Let's just make sure it still prints. Doesn't explode in a ball of flames from third-party toner cartridges. Oh. Okay. Yep. All our tonal levels are still at, well, full, because these two are actually full because I was forced to replace them, but the yellow, not full, but according to the printer, it's 100%. So while you might not be able to use this thing to reset a cartridge that the printer has determined the ink has run out on, if you get to it in time, you can, in theory, continue resetting it regardless of how much ink is actually in the cartridge. Think of it like the good old days when you knew the cartridge was running out because the print quality degraded and not because the printer decided you needed to buy new cartridges. So that's it for me. Feel free to leave a comment if you bought one of these and it worked out for you, or even if it didn't. I mean, I can't guarantee that it's going to work for everyone, so don't flame me if it didn't work. But yes, this seems to have worked out just fine as long as the cartridge isn't totally empty.